and I miss a goddamn thing about it now. Just think about it, eh? Prison in my head all day. Goes home the hallways. Thoughts attacking always. Always okay. And they can't know what I ain't know. And they ain't know that there ain't no space for halos by my face. So don't forget, yo, I'm not looking at an angel, looking at a pain soul. I can't stop looking at the angles, but I can't grow, though it's painful. I just need some time, need some rhyme, need a little break before my faith goes. I think I'm bad and often. I think I'm bad and often. I think I'm bad and often. I think about it, think about it. I think about it often. I think about it often. I think about it often. I think about it, think about it. Listen to the music, listen to my therapy. Helps ease the passing of all these painful memories. Looking in the mirror like I'm looking at the enemy. Came from the dark, but light is in my entity. You wanna measure me by everything I ever been, everything I ever seen, by things I became that I said I'd never be, by all the people who promised they never leave, for the demons I overcame and left deceased. I should be left with peace, with my mental ease. What's the entry fee? Ain't nobody ever come fend for me. You better mention greatness when you mention me, cause I keep it 100 like a centipede. You want advice? Well, you better go and get a dream. You wanna fight? Well, I'm never surrendering. I'll be fighting for tomorrow till the very end, but still sometimes I can't help but reminisce. I think I'm bad and often. I think I'm bad and often. I think I'm bad and often. I think about it, think about it. I think about it often. I think about it often. I think about it often. I think about it, think about it.
In the day, I feel like you're mineral deficient.
Yo, LA Natives Podcast, Las Aslan Natives
Yeah.
Podcast. What's up, Zero? What's up, Sky?
What's up? Community Lost Aslan.
Good
Here we are
beat.
again. Daniel.
What's up, brothers?
What's up, my bro?
Yo, Sky.
The Cookie Mints.
Are you
bro.
there now?
Is it Cookie Mints?
Yes,
There you go.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cookie Mints, brother.
Yo, we have a lot of early birds tuning in, Zero.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Right on.
The chat's already lit.
Dope.
It's daylight savings.
So that was Higher Knowledge. We just showcased his, I think his most recent video, if I'm not mistaken. That was dope, Zero.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
man,
it.
he's a cool cat. I met him. How long ago was this guy? We went to the.
I want to say a couple weeks
Like
ago.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, like a month ago. Or-
Man, he's 2 weeks ago. Brother's an amazing organizer, obviously, and he put together a show that they invited me to go play. So I'll be leaving to Canada in April. I'm trying to get my passport situated, and then we're gonna go.
So
over
that
there.
being said, anyone tuning in, just 01492 on Bandcamp, support, purchase the single. We're trying to raise some money. Any dollar helps, right, Zero?
Absolutely.
We're all independent
Well,
underground rap stars.
You know, the truth is that I'm not getting paid to do that show, and so it's cool. I don't care. That's not the point. They are helping me get my passport, so that's it's a trade kind of. And but yeah, if you guys can go and support with the music, you got to remember that when you buy our single, when you buy our shirt, when you buy any of those things, you're supporting this program to continue to do other things like events, invest in our own community, and we'll use your support to do so. And just know that when I go, you know, to other places in Turtle Island, that I represent all of us. You know, I put that good medicine in a good way, like a lot, like the Lakota say, you know, the walking beauty. I try to do that every day.
And ultimately, look, dude, I'm very passionate on Latino, Mexica, Mexican, however you want to call it. Like you're going to be representing Zero because you know,
Yeah, it's a big community.
it's like when Jesus comes to LA, it's a whole different vibe, right?
Right. He represents his community, the reservation natives and all that stuff. So We're trying to create one big family.
You represent the concrete jungle of
Yeah.
East Los.
Absolutely. Yeah. And all the brothers and sisters that were lost at one point, but then found Aslan. You know what I mean? That's why this is the name of the show. At one point we were lost, but then we found Aslan. Just lost Aslan.
Hey, but the video too, Ruben, man, that looked like the homies. That looked like my neighborhood.
Oh, I know. That's why we clicked right away, man. And you know, a week later, he's like, "Dude, I'm putting together a show. I want to bring you out." I'm like, "Dude, this dude's a real one. Like, you know, he's putting together his heart and soul, and I'm gonna go give it my best and try to, you know, communicate to other people in different places that we are all one family. This is all one tribe, and when we start thinking that way, then we'll start to break down the barriers that they so called have over us.
The homie Sub One, he's in the chat. He says city natives.
There you
Yeah.
go.
That's who you are, Zero.
Sub
And the
one.
homie said, "Think about it often."
If that's the
Like
Sub
it.
one that I'm thinking of, man, that fucking dude's a dope ass MC. Shout out to Sub one.
Shout out to Sub1.
So let's go ahead and bring higher knowledge in.
Right on.
Yep.
Yo, what up, what up, what up?
HK.
What's going on?
What's up, brother?
Brother.
Yek tu now, Nuniguan. Patty, you
Nice.
for having me.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
brother.
Gracias, hermanos.
Yeah.
Hope to be-
Good brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about the show, bro. What's up? What's gonna happen over there?
Yeah, so higher knowledge, also go by HK. Yeah, I do lots of hip hop, obviously, but I do lots of like community organizing up here.
Nice.
And they used to be two separate things for me, and I realized that hip hop and rhymes and just being an MC. I actually don't think you can be a real artist and MC and not be a community leader, right?
Yeah.
Like all of us, we're given this voice, right? And you know, people choose to use that leadership and that power in different ways. You
Right.
know, me, I don't, I'm not gonna hate on anybody else's stuff, but for me, I want to plant good seeds,
Right.
especially for the youth, because hip hop is so,
Right.
the youth are so susceptible to it,
Mm.
you know. So I just want to put on these events and, like you said, you know, making one big family, right? Like
Right.
whether you're from North America, Central America, or South America, if you brown and your ancestors are from Abya Yala, are from Turtle Island, you fucking, you're a motherfucking nativo, man. You're a native.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
indigenous, right? But a lot of us, you know, have, like you said, been lost from that cultura, from that culture, because of colonization. You know, and I grew up in foster care. I grew up around like gangs and drug dealers and very street entrenched. And so for me, I thought my culture was the streets. That was my culture, you know, and when I left the streets, I'm like, well then who the fuck am I? You know, and I'm lucky because I grew up with all the natives up here, you know, the Nehiyaos, the Crees, Nishnabes, the Haidas, the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, you know, like there's Mad Nietzsche's, the Dene up here, and I'm in ceremony with them, and you know, they help bring me back to the light and say, hey, you're one of us, man.
Nice.
You need to go back to your roots.
Right.
So I've been like, when I met you, Zero, I had just come from South America, right? I was chilling in Colaseu in Chile.
Wow.
I was in the Amazon in Pucallpa in Peru, and you know, doing ceremony with the Nietzsche's out there. And the year before that, I was in Cuscatan in Western El Salvador with my family. You know, and so connecting and realizing, you know, one of the craziest things when I do ceremony down south and I learn about our culture down south. You know, I've done ceremony and lots of cultural events up here, and I just see the similarities. Like I'm in the Amazon with the Shipibos and the Ishkanawa, and we're doing ceremony, and you know, we're washing ourselves with the medicines, and they're calling in the grandparents and making us pray in four directions. I'm like, yo, this is the exact same thing we do
Right.
in Canada. It's
Right.
the exact same thing. They have different names for it, different like little, they have different plants, obviously, different you know, geology or geography of the land, but essentially it's the same teachings passed from north to
Right.
south, right?
Right.
So with this event, I want to do the same thing that you've been doing down there, right? And even with Indigenous Peoples Day, with the other brothers and homies and stuff, and the sisters and the Two Spirit and all the fam out there, like I feel like it's part of my purpose to help create those opportunities for community to come together. So and as diasporic people, and people who are reconnecting. I don't know about you, but often, like, I have felt like this imposter syndrome or stuck between two worlds, even with the natives, and I go around the more like Latino identifying, like, really like more Spanish leaning relatives, right? And I feel like I'm too
Well,
sa-
it's
I'm
Spanish speaking. It's Spanish speaking. That's what
Spanish
Latino
speak,
means.
but that's what
But
I'm saying. Because
like
culture,
we always get. There's always this point of like awkwardness. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to make a point when individuals start talking about the word Latino, right? The
hmm
word Latino is a language, right?
hmm
And so when you were stuck in the mission, you were forced to learn a certain language,
yes,
and that's why you're no longer the Ne, or you're no longer a Lakota, you're no longer a Mexica, you're a language, and you must learn that language. And if you don't learn that language, your ass gets beat.
hmm
That's what a Latino is.
and let
Totally opposite
and
of what we are.
yes, and that's the thing
we
is that
resisted. We
that's
resisted and we
why
ran away.
that's why when I come on the podcast, the first thing I say is Yektu now Nuniguan, right? Patayush. That means good day. Or I should say Yektayua because it's nighttime. It's like Yektayua, it's like good evening, my people, Nuniguan, mi gente, right? Patayush, because I'm learning Nawit, which is my ancestors' language,
Right.
because
Right.
part of how we reclaim. The funny thing is though, because I didn't grow up with Spanish, so I actually have to learn Spanish to learn Nawit, right? So there's
Right.
like
Right. Right.
levels to the colonization,
Yes,
right?
brother.
But
Yes.
I
Yes.
I agree with you because Latino, it's people who are speaking a language that's derived from Latin, right? Which comes from essentially, I think, like Rome or Italy,
Yes.
and it's like, who was Italian? Fucking Christopher Columbus, man.
Right.
That's
Right.
not my roots. That's not my ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not who we are. So
Well,
I totally agree with you.
and we were
What
talking a little bit about it. We were talking a little bit about it yesterday. I mean, the last show is that unfortunately, due to rape, you know,
hmm
we do have them.
hmm
And it's not like we're proud of them.
hmm
Neither or, neither or. We're neither proud of them nor do we. It's just a part of what's inside of us, which is the blood, right?
But you too, I
And
was gonna
this is
add,
what.
like,
Wait.
yeah.
This is the important point that we made last show was that even though they live inside of us, if we act like them, then their bloodline rules over us. In other words, if we disrespect the earth, if we eat bad food and die young and don't care about our children, and that bloodline will dominate you. But if you practice indigenous ways, if you find your way into ceremonies, if you find your way into fasting practices, if you practice those things, then you're forcing them to live like you.
hmm
And maybe that was the point.
hmm
And I was gonna add, I don't know, like,
At one point, you're gonna find yourself just like you found yourself right now, and then
did
you're
you,
gonna start to implement the practices and foods, and then you're gonna start to recognize the math and the sequences of calendars. Because when you talk about pre-colonial culture, this is like we're talking in the thousands of years, the concepts of thousands of years.
hmm
You had to know the math to even get to those calculations. So that's when we're talking about pre-colonial culture. You know what I mean? What were you gonna say, Dan? Go for it.
well, I was gonna say that, okay, so when he's, when higher knowledge is talking, I think of myself, okay, like the land recognizes us. We may feel lost, but the land, it knows me. It knows you. And as you travel on your land to different places, it's just because their language and their breakdown of reality is not us. We're love. and we're, we want to share that. I can feel you when you're singing. You share these places you went. You're bringing the medicine back, and so as the sun is spiraling, you're feeling that energy, and it's just that even though we were taking away from our original language, we're the natural beings that live in this place, and so
Absolutely.
you're spiraling into like, and it's like we may speak in different forms, but it's just that when we speak the King's English, it's just so far away from this place. But when you speak and you have love and you want to give, you're already breaking colonization. You're already starting because it's hate, it's a self-loathing, and that's not you, homie. Like we start to see this place and we make it ourselves. We make it our place. It becomes a like I just like the video where you're seeing those places that were maybe foreign to us, but it becomes us as you begin to flow in that. And it's
Mhm.
like it's a good day. You're living the good day. So yeah, I feel that, man. It's a regardless of the language that's from Europe, our heart is from the land. We're here
And our practices make those
for
bloodlines
sure.
follow our way,
Mhm. Yeah, no, Patty, you for saying
which
that
is
and
our.
comparing.
I'm sorry,
every-
just one more point,
Yeah.
just so that we understand that it's this is something that we need to address with anybody who is in the circles of indigenous, Native American, whatever it is, right? We're not Latino. Don't even get awkward about it. If you feel fucking awkward about it, don't even say it because that's not what we are. I'm not
And
confused about
no,
who.
but the thing is,
But
the
no,
thing
but
is,
when people call us Latino, when they go, "Oh yeah, you guys are the Latino natives," or people who are Latin, or
Mhm.
you're taking away all the time that we spent learning about our culture that no one sat down and taught us.
Mhm.
We had to go through the dark and believe that we were from this place.
Mhm.
And until we started practicing these ways, started going into the temescales, started fasting, started using the calendar count, started understanding our tonal,
Mhm.
like we're reclaiming ourselves far far more than just Latino. And it seems a very small thing. It seems like a very small thing, but I'm not a person who learned their language and mastered it and uses it. I'm not that, so don't call me that.
Mhm.
Like
So I
no
thought,
way.
You know what I will always remember? Zero. Chica, no. Lati, no.
Right.
Mexica, si.
Hey, but
You
I
know what
think
I'm
that
talking about, right?
Yeah.
hey,
Zero?
but I swear to God, I think higher knowledge has got to say something, brother. Yeah, what do
Go for it,
you
brother.
go ahead,
Go
brother?
for it.
What?
yeah, no, I always have so many things to say, but I want to be respectful because the first 20 minutes that me and Zero were talking when I came to his shop, he fucking just blew my mind. Some knowledge that
Yeah,
is some
that's
like
zero.
paradigm shifting stuff, and I love that. Like, people think that my rap name Higher Knowledge comes from a place of ego, that I think I'm some sort of supreme teacher. I'm like, no, 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 no. Higher knowledge means I'm the seeker, I'm the student, the
Good point.
opposite of that.
That's
Good
dude.
one.
I know that I don't know shit, which
I like that
makes
one.
which
That's
makes
good
me
shit.
have my
Right,
cup empty enough to accept the knowledge. So I feel
right.
blessed, man. I love to learn. But and I want to promote that learning. But I agree with everything that you're saying, Zero. When I was saying struggling with the word Latino, I'm not talking about what I know about myself and us. I'm talking about how other people choose to identify because they're still in the dark about these
Right.
things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
what I've often felt is that I'm too northern for the southern natives and too southern for the northern natives. And so like there's this weird thing, and even when I go to Kushkatan, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my tia about our native roots and they're even telling me, yo, your grandma is from Jutiapa, which is like a super super it's actually a little village in Cuscatan in El Salvador that predates colonization by thousands of years, right? And that's where my grandmother is from. And my auntie is sitting there and she doesn't want to identify as indigenous. She
Yeah.
identifies as Salvadoreña, as
Yeah.
Latina. You can see the discomfort when we're having this conversation.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yet not only does she clearly look indigenous, wearing indigenous
Yeah.
textiles, making indigenous chocolate from a cacao tree. She's picked the cacao out of her own backyard. She's making pupusas and tortillas and all these things. and eating corn. I'm like, yo, this is all native. None of this is Spanish. This doesn't come from Spain.
Yeah.
This is all indigenous, right? But then you look in our histories, like every kind of so-called Spanish speaking country has its own colonial history. But in El Salvador, in the 1930s, we had something called La Matanza, right, where it was a crazy massacre where they just murdered like 70,000 natives, like anyone who looked native, anyone who wore, spoke the language, anything. And since then, it was like being indigenous was a death sentence in our grandparents' time. It's absolute death sentence. They also had something called the casta system, right, where they, and it was on our grandparents' birth certificate. It was kind of like a status card in Canada, just saying like
Yeah.
how native you were, how much European blood you had, how much black blood you had. So, and this would literally limit your resources, your ability to go to
Yeah.
school or get jobs or be treated with like respect or have safety. So nobody wanted to identify as indigenous, right? So there's just all these complexities. So going back to this show is called The Eagle, Quetzal, and Condor
Oh wow.
Indigenous Concert.
That's
And so
cool.
it's a way, because of the uniqueness of my experience, I've been able to connect to all these communities from the north, the central, and the south. So instead of being in these little pockets together, I'm like, yo, we're gonna tear these fucking colonial walls down and we're gonna have an event where we're all in the same room together and we can look at each other and be like, hey, you're like me and I'm like you.
Right.
Oh, and
Right.
that's why we got people from Chile, Peru, Aztlan, uh, Coast Salish people, Cree people. All of them are all going to be performing all sorts of different styles, from indigenous pre-Columbian like flutes and ocarinas and drums to hip hop and R&B and psychedelic rock from Year the Crow, the brother Edgar, like you with your super powerful rhymes and bars. You're like, we're all just gonna be in the same room and be like, yo, we're
Cool, man.
all one. We're different, but we're the same.
I
Yeah.
love. I
That's
mean, I've
cool.
been up there before, and Daniel was with me that
Yeah.
when we went up there the first time.
Beautiful people.
Went up to Nanaimo, so it was cool. It was a cool experience. The people were amazing. It was a
Yes.
very short run.
Beautiful people.
Yeah, it was fun, and I can't wait to go back. Like it's gonna
I
be
know.
like going back home
Cool.
with different friends. I went up there with Manic and Oz, and who else did we go up there with? We went up there with several other artists up there. They took us to Saskatchewan as well.
Hmm.
So we have a relationship with Canada, and
That's the
I don't know, Daniel. Maybe you could speak a little bit more about this, but the Mexica reached from Mexico all the way up to Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Mm.
it's kind of simple, Ruben. They followed the monarch butterfly. Think about back in the day, they'd follow the butterfly. They'd say, where's he going? And they'd follow the monarchs, and the monarchs go. The monarchs traverse the continent. But
Mm.
then also too, the natives would do a spiral in the continent. Because that was our nature, just to spiral around. And so, but I mean, we've lived on this continent for a millennium. And it's
Right.
just like the brother was talking about.
I mean, think
You go to
about
different
finding a
parts.
route, by following butterflies. I mean,
Right. Think about that, brother. Like, dude, because think about it. Look at there's a butterfly symbol on the wall in Teotihuacan. I mean, that's the symbol we use in Anahuac. That's
right.
the symbol we use, and just so you know, the monarch butterfly in the Mexica culture is the spirit of the warrior.
Mm.
Mhm.
And so that's something that they just had a different view of nature. And you think about it, man. The monarch butterfly eats milkweed, and so
Yeah.
when a bird eats it, it vomits it right away, and they don't eat it again. So nature has a way to make the monarch, it's safe. So it's a beautiful story too.
Mm.
Mhm.
Dope. Yeah, man. I mean,
You know what that reminds me of too? So, Zero, we didn't have a chance to talk about this because it hadn't even been fully fledged yet. But I've been pulled through prayer and ceremony and just really like meditating on how I can put my energy into contributing to this movement that predates me from a long time. This is what we're doing right now is actually prophecy.
Yes, it
I'm
is.
saying and it's really bigger than us. Like we're being
I
guided
get the
by
chills.
force. Oh, for real, we're being guided and moved in ways and by forces we can't even see or understand fully, you know. But I'm just going with the flow. Like I said, I just know I'm an instrument. I'm an
Yes.
instrument of an ancestor, so I'm just trying to play my position the best that I can. But something, who comes and visits me a lot in ceremony, and I've been really inspired by, who journeys from north to south as well, is the colibris,
The
right?
hummingbird.
The
Huitzilopochtli.
hummingbird,
Yes.
and they come to me all the time in ceremony, and as I've traveled all throughout, even in LA. I was in LA, I was in South America, I was in Central America, and you see the colibris everywhere, and they're so powerful. So what I'm trying to do is also start a kind of a movement and an organization, community organization of North, Central, and South American community, and calling it the Colibri and the Fire Society,
Mm.
right? And
That's
so
cool.
this event that we're doing is going to be the first event of this, but I'm hoping to be able to, write some grants and get some other people on board to do whole festivals and get people to fly in from all over Abya Yala and Turtle Island, and not just host it in Canada, host one in the States, host one in Mexico, host one in Central America and South America, and just like really start getting our community to interconnect more, But the reason why decided to call it Colibri in the Fire. Not sure if you heard this story before. I actually heard it first up here, and I was told it was a Coast Salish territory from some local people. But then I also found out recently that there's people who claim that this story is a Quechua story from down south, right, in South America, which to me, most likely, it was just a story that was passed from north to
Right.
south. That's really, so that to me, it's even more appropriate because of that. But the story goes, there's some different versions, but essentially is that there was a giant forest fire, right? And all the animals were running out of the forest, and one of the animals looked over and they saw a little colibri, a little hummingbird that just kept flying in and out of the fire. And so the animal's like, "What the hell are you doing, hummingbird? Like, we have to go." And the hummingbird had a little drop of water and said, "I'm doing my part," and just kept flying into the forest fire and dropping this little bead of water in,
Mm.
and it's such a powerful story. It's such a powerful metaphor to me, and how I interpret it. First of all, I love the colibri because we always talk about the eagle and the condor, the quetzal or the jaguar or whatever. But to me, the colibri is the one that strings them all together, from north to central to south. But also in that story, the colibri is the smallest, most fragile animal, and yet it's like standing up to this giant forest fire, right? And to me, that's how it feels like being indigenous, standing up to
Right.
colonize.
Oh shit.
It
That's
feels
cool.
like our lands are just on fire. We're being, whether it's like fentanyl crisis or child welfare and foster care or resource extraction or, cultural genocide, literal genocide, like civil war, whatever it is, residential schools, all these different things. And our people are still just standing up against this giant forest fire, this giant machine of colonization, and saying, yo, it doesn't matter, we're still gonna stand up and do our part, right, to try to protect Madre Tierra and our people and Mother Earth and all those things. So
You know
yeah,
what?
that's the move.
When I went to Mexico, and they were protesting. I went to a big festival at the Foro Sol, which is like a big stadium in Mexico City, and it was the Huichols fighting for their land because there was a Canadian mining company going there and trying to extract some sort of mineral from the sacred lands of Virikuta, which is the sacred peyote space.
Mhm.
And the only reason I'm bringing up that story is because the Huicholes made it very clear that we don't protect her. She protects us.
Mm,
Mhm.
We're not bigger than her.
mhm.
She's bigger than us. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves and saying that we're protecting her, we're with her. That's what we are. And it was like, whoa, well, that's kind of, and they're all like, because you take the negativity away from, we don't defend someone with negativity. You defend someone with love and connectivity, right? You see, if we think that we're more than Mother Earth or Tonantzin or whatever you think, or whatever it is that you call the planet that you're on, or whatever the surface that you're on, it is far bigger than your spirit and your heart. And the reason why we use the hummingbird is because the hummingbird, the biggest organ in the hummingbird is its heart. It's its heart. So it's our will that faces the fire, right? There's another story where the hummingbird flew into the fire because everyone refused to, all the big gods, they didn't want to go into the fire, and that's what started our sun, right? But if you think about it scientifically, when an atom splits, it creates a sun,
Crazy.
right?
Hey, but you had two hours.
So then the story of the colibri is not just this little bird. It's scientific to the point of an atom bursting and creating a sun. That's how far our knowledge goes.
Bro, you know what I love about you saying that though? Because I'm kind of like a nerd about these types of things too. And I love how when I say nerd, I mean like about like science and physics, quantum physics and all these things. And when I go to ceremony, like if I go to Sundance or I go to Sweat or Spear Bath or anything, I'm constantly like, what I realize is that conventional modern colonial science is constantly catching up to indigenous knowledge. So
Absolutely.
all of these things that are looked at as like this hocus pocus, like ooga booga, yeah, they're just savages in the forest who don't like really know what they're talking about. They don't realize like, no, this comes from 10,000 years of knowing what the fuck we're talking
Well,
about.
look,
And so that when you learn, like for example, just real quick, so for example, like when I hear so much from the elders and in ceremony about intention and how everything has a spirit, and the way that you like, even like, because I've started like fire keeping and stuff, and like just trying to go on my ceremonial journey and helping at the Temazcal. And it's like I've been told, like, even when you're handling the abuelos, the grandfathers, right? It's like your thoughts, you have to keep yourself pure. Everything you're doing, you have to think with good intention. And now they have all of this like quantum physics and science coming out about how the way we think about things literally change their molecular makeup,
Right.
right? And change the way that, like, we're literally affecting the world around us by the way that we think and our intentions, and that everything is made up of the same building blocks of energy that we're all made up, which means everything has the same spirit, that same metaphysical energy. So again, it's not just some like cool sounding thing that an elder said one day. Like, this is literally the science of it, right? Just like you're saying with the colibri and the
it's
atom.
because we
So
have a
It's where we
distorted.
began. It's
We
where
have
we began, And so, but I'm going to say this: you keep saying colibri, and it's, I don't say that word anymore. I say Huitzilopochtli. Huitzilopochtli in Nahuatl. Huitzilopochtli literally means hummingbird on the left. Hummingbird on the left is
Heart.
Huitzilopochtli, and so Huitzilopochtli. And so when we speak Nahuatl, it tells you, it doesn't. So it's like science. It's English. They're shit. They're telling you, oh, this is it's fecal matter. That's shit. Okay, we called it shit. We call it caca. They make up some science for it, but Huitzilopochtli, because it's telling you the hummingbird's on the left. What's your hummingbird on the left? Ruben said it. Your heart. And so we were already, the language was telling you. And so that's why as you're, again, too, it's like these Spanish words are there, but the Nahuatl is even closer to the root that you're talking about because, brother, that's your umbilical cord. It's rooted in this earth. And so your mother, your grandmother, we trace our lineage through our mother. We don't trace it through our father. Any pendejo could be your father, but it's your mother that you come out of the birth canal, right? And that's when, Quetzalcoatl is the wind. So these are all the concepts of the elders, the medicine that we live in. And brother, you're already feeling it. It's just a matter of beginning to put the words to it, because what I think is interesting too, and it's just, I grew up north, and so where I grew up is in LA. And so I understand what Ruben's talking about in the span, like, but when you're living out in the gringo, oh man, there's nobody defending you saying, hey, it's a different world out here. I mean, I went to college, and it's a different world where our raza is not there, and so we're really, it's a whole nother, as you said, I saw somebody in the chat said they used to hunt us,
When-
and no shit. And now, like, they can't hunt us anymore because we're the warriors, and they hunt us with guns. When you don't have a gun, you don't want to fuck with us because we're warriors.
No, when it comes to science,
Mhm.
science, and then right away you think, oh, okay, I'm going to think of a college, and I'm going to think of a professor, and I'm going to think of an experiment, I'm going to think of these chemical things. But really, that's like alchemy, European alchemy. Breakdown and use of metals and chemicals to create reactions, which is kind of satanic. So it's satanic alchemy, what you're learning. But they call it science. Now, we all have the right to define what that European word means. And in our ancestral way, science, all it means is observation. Lengthy observation. I'm not talking about 3 months. I'm not talking about 3 years.
Right.
I'm not talking about 10 years. The reason why we say this goes back thousands of years is because that's how long we've been observing.
Right.
That is science. Our observations create visions. Those visions become art.
Right.
The art is a direction to our spirituality, the sunstone. It's all there. The reason why it's time is because we're going to go back to concepts of death. Right now, we're terrified from it. I was talking to someone at the shop. Like, "Hey, I'm very claustrophobic, and and I go, but why are you scared though? Oh, because I don't want to. I'm scared. I can't escape. Escape what? If it's your time to go, it's your time to go.
Yo, Zero, as you know, I had a horrible loss, bro. Like, rest in peace, Point Blank, one of the
Yeah.
dopest, illest hip hop photographers of all times.
Right.
And we celebrated his passing. We created a fundraiser event,
Right.
And there's no need to mourn in a negative way, right? Like,
Look, life is a gift, but it's not permanent.
Right.
What's permanent is what you leave on earth. That's why the art was so important to us.
his art will live forever.
Exactly. His photos.
His photos, right?
his captures.
He even took a picture of you, right, Zero?
Yes. I mean, I know who that. I got totally shocked that he was gone. But then again, okay, so now we're talking about our relationship with death, right? Because, HK, you bring up good points, man. A lot of people have suffered. The forest fire is cleansing.
Right.
Because when we used to live on this land, we would live on the land for, let's say, 100 years, but then take notice, something's happening here. We're messing this land up, so it's time to burn everything and find a new place. Because Mother Earth is abundant. There's not a place where we can't find where she will give us what we need. So, but in those concepts, you have to understand one thing. Death is inevitable. No one escapes it.
No
Our
need to
time-
fear it. No
Our
need to
time
fear that.
came. Our time came.
That's the thing. But
When the colonials came,
the fear.
when the colonials came, it was our time. That's it. Cuauhtémoc couldn't do anything about it. Nothing. All of our science, all of our wisdom, all of our warriors, they said no. It is our time. We need to learn how to die. Nothing in nature here escapes it. How come we're not learning it? And that's what happened. 500 years darkness. We're in the new time. That's why you feel the way you feel.
Yo,
That's why you're connecting to those things.
Zero, are you a fan of horror films?
No, not really. Why?
I'm just asking.
That was random.
It just random came up, bro.
Okay. No, but you know what I mean? Like this is
It's a cycle. I know what you're saying. It's a cycle, just like the season, just like you have summer, fall, winter, and spring.
right.
And so the 500 years, the 500 años of colonization is like the winter of indigenous people of
Yes.
Abya,
Exactly.
right? Like our winter, but our
Yes.
winter ending, we're coming into
Right.
spring,
Right.
to the revitalization, But I also think that it's important what you said about our relationship with death, because like I've been forced to face it. I've been forced to face it because in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I know like probably about 100 people who've died.
Wow.
Right, like here, fentanyl is a huge thing. Fentanyl, we're like ground zero for fentanyl in Vancouver because we're a border city and we're a dock city, and all the fentanyl and opium comes from China through the docks, right? Because it's deregulated there. It's not illegal, right? That's why it's so easy to get here. And yeah, I just lost so many people, and a lot, since COVID, to mental
Right.
health, to
Right.
suicide, to gang violence, and all of these different things. And so I've been forced to look at my relationship with death. But even early on, like my grandfather was executed by the military in Cuscatan in El Salvador during the Civil War. My father was murdered in a drive-by on Pico in LA. So that's why I said before, like, even though I didn't grow up in LA, I was born in LA. I have family in LA. My dad died there. So I still have my connection with that place too. And so I've been forced in lots of ways to confront my relationship with death. And as tough as it's been, one thing I'm grateful for, and ceremony and cultural teachings help me learn, is that this fear we have of death really comes from colonization.
Right.
It comes from the church, right? Because the church instilling fear about
Right.
dying, going to hell, or going to heaven
Right. Right.
was the manipulation that they used on people to say, like, hey, you got to listen to us.
Yeah.
We're the teachers of what's right and what's wrong, what's righteous and what's evil. And if you're gonna be a heathen or a pagan or listen to those other gods and things that you've been doing that doesn't fit in with our agenda, then you're gonna go to this eternal fiery pit. But we know that's not true. Our ancestors have been knowing that. Our ancestors and our people been talking to their ancestors and having that relationship with death and understanding that we're eternal beings and the spirit world is a very real thing. Something that I always thought is interesting that always proves the spirit world to me. A big one is children. The amount of children are see the spirits in the spirit world all the time. I've had nieces and nephews. I remember my cousin telling me once that her daughter literally had whole conversations with her grandmother who passed before she was born, and could name her and literally describe her and say that she comes and visits her in her room, right? And she's never met her, never saw a picture of her, and she passed away, like never really talked about it. Just like a little 4 or 5 year old girl, right?
Because
Because they, what I've been told by elders and stuff is that it's because children are still close to the spirit world because they just came from the spirit world. And as we get older, especially in this colonial society, we start in this concrete jungle, we start getting disconnected from that. So yeah, it's a real thing, right?
Brother,
But it's
what's interesting, think about this, all right? Mictlan is what we call the land of darkness where our ancestors lived. And so the way our ancestors bring us medicine is when we go to Mictlan. And so every night when you go to sleep, you go to Mictlan. And in Mictlan, your ancestors come and they give you medicine in your dreams. But think about it. If you're not open to it, it's not gonna, but if you like the child is not told not to believe. They're just there living the world. And so the ancestors come because there's nothing hiding, there's nothing to be afraid of. And so I knew this when my mother passed away. She came to me in a dream, and it was like, man. And I started to ask other people, hey, other people the same thing. And so it's if you understand it, you don't need to question it, And it just, but it's beautiful that the closer you are to the creator, the easier it is to speak those things. But I think also too, like you, brother, myself, Zero, when we begin to like love and resonate from our heart, it's amazing the world we live in, because that's when colonization breaks up. Because if you don't have a heart, then the colonizer wins. But when you begin to resonate from your heart, the colonization doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. And so I can see, brother, you're on fire. Ruben's on fire. I'm sure you guys got together. It was like a fire, like the wood, like the hummingbirds, going into the fire. And so it's just nice that through technology we're beginning to make these connections. We're right now in 3 different places, but we're on the same connection. It's about time that this
But going back to the spirit world, us all being here right now, I feel like this is guided by ancestors. This isn't an accident. This isn't a coincidence.
Of course not.
know?
Nothing's coincidence, brother. Nothing.
Oh man, like that's what I'm saying. Like those loved ones that we have that have passed on,
Right.
they're
Well,
helping.
that's the one thing that we kept reiterating how much we knew, like in terms of life cycles. These things have happened many times, right? And we keep explaining to them that yes, we're in flesh and flesh and blood right now, but we'll continue on, and you're gonna get lost. We told the whites or the colonizers or whoever came and brought harm, because you know what? They weren't just white. A bunch of our fucking people jumped on their fucking side. How do you think they won? This is we. That's what happened.
But that's the thing, brother. Remember, we're in darkness, man. Because
You were in darkness time, though.
it's hard to
Right.
see in darkness. We were against a great force, and I mean, but beautiful.
We
Hey,
were
we're not
scared. We were brought up. A lot of people think that there was this one movie called the La Otra Conquista, the Other Conquest, right? And they show the scene where the Spaniard has a native tied up to a pole, and he's whipping him, and he's in front of all the natives, and all the natives are looking and getting terrified of this individual whipping the shit out of this native and making him bleed and telling him, call out to Jesus or whatever. And then, sorry, my sister just texted me. And so they're trying to terrify the crowd because they're trying to show that the Spaniard has the upper hand. Okay, great concept movie, but you know what? Those were kids. Those weren't adults. They terrified children. They didn't terrify adults. The adults were too brave. They'd rather die than fucking live that way. But the kids got left behind. It was darkness. It was our time to go into darkness, and we had to accept our death. I wrote a rhyme that said, "Humble with nature, so we would never forget." Right? We had to accept our death. Humble with nature, so we would never forget that a spirit of the sun, it has no bones, it has no skin, just a respect for life and a fire within. Humble, impeccable, a warrior of time, connected forever with the lights in the skies. That is our spirit. That is the essence of what we are. We think we're this body, but we're not. We're inexperienced. That's why we have to be humble in everything that we do. We don't take advantage. We don't lie. We try to live in beauty because we're only here for such a small time.
Yo, the viewership is at all-time high. The chat is lit. Make sure you guys call in 626-596-1033. Do us a favor, hit that like button, share the video, comment on the video, man. LA Natives Podcast. Any new viewers, just do that.
Exactly. We want to get our our subscription to 1,300. We're trying to stay sacred numbers.
Good number. If it's you and
What
two,
we're gonna hit? We want all of our viewers. So that goes to you, HK. Now that we're in Canada, please tell them to come subscribe. Everyone, the LA Natives podcast is the pipeline to all of our
So support
indigenous
the
communities.
egos, right? Because
Absolutely,
as the brothers always say, and I love to repeat as well, we didn't cross the borders crossed us.
there are
You know,
no borders. Borders are made
that's
up.
right?
what I'm
Borders
saying,
are made up.
right?
If
Borders.
we acknowledge the border, then we go, oh yeah, we believe in their system, and we don't believe in their system. There are no
That's
borders.
what I'm saying. Our communities and our ideas, they transcend these colonial borders that they've tried to create, right? They're not even real, exactly,
Exactly.
right? And so that's why we're breaking down these borders and this division through this
Although I
event.
still got to get a passport.
Right. Hey, but you and two,
I
brother.
gotta be
There
Hey,
you go. That's
the
it,
nice thing too, brother, is
right?
that you think about this is that the native spirit, the native energy, it has so many we have so many nuances and so many old stories that they can't stop us. They can't even fathom the ability that our ancestors have, the connections that we have. Like reading in the chat, these kids that are connecting with ancestors that are gone. I feel connected with ancestors that are gone. I mean, it's just we're from our place. Like we're not like I try to explain. We're not like if I was in China somewhere trying to say, oh, I gotta find my no, I'm where I'm from. Like we're from the land that we're from. It's just that we speak a different language, but we still are the same people under the
Mhm.
same sun. The land didn't change very much. It did change a bit, but it's still, like I said, the land recognizes us, and that's why when you talk about the ceremony, making these connections. If you think about it, the land is alive, and so if the land's alive, you look at the middle of the Tonal Machotl, it's the belly button of the earth, and so we are from the belly button of the earth, and if the earth's a living being, where the four corners meet is where everything comes together, like our center, and so we're very fortunate that we're the people that are from the earth, and our knowledge is of the earth. We don't have the knowledge that the other people have, but our main knowledge is of the earth, and so it's our gift. And so now the people that run the fire, they're making too many fires other places. We got to be here, and we have to clean our earth because we're in a time of change. The next 600 years, the energy that's coming from the sun it's going to change the way Europeans build. We're not Europeans, and we don't build like that.
Mhm.
We're going to build buildings that withstand this, and so that's why we need to be strong, because we're going to be here after this experiment falls, because
Mhm.
just like our ancestors, they've been here thousands of years, and this is just a speed bump. But I think too, like Rube and I were talking, a lot of it has to do with us reclaiming ourselves first. I got to
Yes,
find my heart,
absolutely.
and because once I find my heart, they can't get us, because then I see another native and I feel my heart and I want to help that native. I don't see the native and say, oh no, I see, oh, this is my brother, I got to give him life. It's my sister, I got to take care of her. And so
Mhm.
I'm not thinking colonize no more, because
Mhm.
colonize is when I hate. Nah, I'm not trying to. I want to have love inside of me. I want to share that. So the new year is a time for us to begin to make intentions. What's your intention? I know for me, I have an intention to take better care of my father. He's still with me, so I'm going to do my best to make this year like the best year. And so, but I have to do that myself. It doesn't. No one else out in the world's going to help me. I have to wake up, ask for that intention, and then follow it, because the action that I take is my prayer. That I'm a Mexica, so we pray through movement. And so, but again, to begin that and just like, and I'm excited just to hear you, brother, and seeing that Ruben's going to be with you there. Oh man, it's like adding an element that's going to make everything just blow up, and it's going to be a beautiful thing.
I, I appreciate that so much, man. Thank you for all the wisdom that you're sharing and the flowers. And I'd give you all your flowers too, because like I said, like I'm on here and I'm already like soaking up so much knowledge, and
It's going
I'm
back and
excited.
forth, brother.
I'm excited to build, man. I'm excited. The thing is, my intention of going to LA was for two things when I just came 2 weeks ago. One was to go hang out with my family because all my Salvi fam is there, right? They live in East LA or Compton or different areas of LA. But also, I wanted to start building with the community out there. I wanted to start doing shows out there and connecting with the grassroots organizations and all the movers and shakers. And I heard so much about Zero and some, and Indigenous Peoples Day and all these different things, and connecting with like Edgar from Year the Crow, Yalto, all these different dope Nietzsche's.
Right.
And
Right.
but my teaching, like, to me, one of the core teachings of being indigenous is about reciprocity. It's about the circle, right? So I didn't want to come out there and just be like, yo, gimme, gimme, gimme. I'm me up, because that's in, especially in the artist community, in the hip hop community, and like this kind of Hollywood thing, because LA is Hollywood, but they call Vancouver Hollywood North.
No,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So there's a lot of similarities, like movies get filmed here, like all sorts of stuff, right? And there's this kind of like elitism that happens and like selfishness, and it's not about the circle, it's about colonial pyramid, right? The hierarchy, the elites at the top and then everyone at the bottom. So instead of just being like, going to Zero or Edgar or other people and being like, yo, hook me up, to like give to me, I'm like, no, I'm gonna hook you guys
Yeah.
up first, or I'm gonna put all of my energy, all of my resources to bringing you up to Canada and putting you guys up on here first, and then maybe coming to your community and doing some things too. Because to me, that's about reciprocity. That's
Well,
about
we already have like a program, and the next show that we're going to be working on, Armando, is the June 25th, right? Mm-hmm. So that might be a good opportunity for you to come back and join our network. But that's exactly what we're doing, is creating a space where all natives can come. We know the influence of Los Angeles, and I know the influence of Los Angeles. It's helped me in my career. I've gone to Canada, I've gone to Mexico City, I've gone all places of Turtle Island. And, you know, as we decolonize our perspective, we'll understand that, you know, the Mexicas, their reach was far, but they didn't do it. I don't believe they did it in a brute, forceful way. They had to come with intellect.
Right.
They were revered. They were very, very disciplined people. People wanted to be like them. Kind of like what we call celebrities now, right? Because they had disciplines, they had lineage, they had wisdoms that went back, you know, as far as they can remember.
They took pride in what they did. They
Yeah.
took pride in what they did, and then they added their heart. So they not only took pride in it, but then look at the Tonal Machon. Think about studying the galaxy. This is what they were giving us, to study the galaxy, and they were just trying to impress each other, not by putting people down, but by moving forward and being a higher vibration, almost like higher knowledge.
I mean, think
well,
about
like,
it.
for me,
Their
like
concepts of,
that reciprocity, like that to me, like going back to the circle, right? Like all of these things, it's when the Europeans came here, and even now when you see the what's happened to the world, it's all about taking from the land, taking the oil, taking
Right,
the
right,
trees, the rubber, the all of this stuff, but not giving anything back.
right,
And I just see this so much. I see it on a community level, right? Not just a hip hop community. I see it in indigenous community, even sometimes like in the inner city, or like places that have become really colonized. And this is where lateral violence starts coming in, and people start fighting over, because that's also what colonialism
right, right,
teaches us. And what happens to oppressed people? They start adopting the
right,
ideology
right,
and strategies of the oppressor, because that's what we've been taught. So now, like everything I do, it's like when we go, I've been taught, when we go get medicines from the land, you put tobacco down, you
right,
put
right,
gives, and you never take medicines in a way that it can't reproduce or can't be cultivated in the future. You don't take more than you need,
right,
and if I go to ceremony, if I go to Temazcal, I'm not just coming and saying, hey, do all of this work for me and help me pray, and then I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna come early, I'm gonna chop wood, I'm gonna help
right,
get
right,
the grandfathers ready. I'm gonna bring food, so when we break the fast afterwards and have a feast together, you know what I mean? Like you're contributing to it. So and I feel like this is also a law of the universe, because when you do that, man, it comes back to you so much. And I think our ancestors knew that, right? Colonialism doesn't understand that. It doesn't understand that when you give, you receive. It's just about take, 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 take. I'm going to take as much as I can take. And if I'm fat and fed and you're starving, it doesn't affect me. But of course it affects each other, right? But that they don't think like that,
Hey,
right?
but
So
brother,
that's why.
They have no discipline.
Yo,
I
so,
appreciate
so
what you're saying because you know what? I want to make this public right now because it's interesting. I was talking with the homie Robin the other day, and he says, "Man, you know, the Temescal, you got to bring wood. You got." And I said, "Yeah, I know." And it's like, wait a second, people don't know that. People don't know if you go to Temescal, bring some wood, bring something for after. And the thing is, you know what, man? And I was a victim of this too. A lot of times we assume that you know these things.
Mhm.
well, what was there? I want to add this though, like with the brother Higher Knowledge talking about how hip hop does have a direct influence on people's characters, and it to me it really does. Maybe Zero, out of all groups I've ever heard of, El Vu and Zero, like I think you guys are possibly the only group that I believe started from the ground up that had like zero influence of that gangster commercial mainstream Puff Daddy Dr. Dre shit.
Absolutely.
But I remember, I think since day one, you know, you gave much respect to cats like KRS One and like
Public Enemy.
Public Enemy and shit like that. It was just a different
Ras
cloth.
Ras Kass.
But almost every indigenous artist I've ever met, if you look at their past shit, there's some direct influence.
Yeah.
You feel me? Bald head or flashy. You know, it's there. We can't avoid it. And now Dre gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Shout out to Dre. But it just goes to show how it's just that's the definition of just basically hip hop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to remember we got to get perspective of what that is in terms of mainstream anything. Mainstream record deal, mainstream video, whatever that is, that's not what we're doing. We're using those mediums because they're ways to publish things. Kind of like we're publishing our discussion right now. Right? That's just the way we're doing it. But the outcome is not, there's never going to be me becoming a multimillionaire Dr. Dre guy.
Yeah,
you know,
but
you have to have like
it's still there though. Anyone that associates
doesn't mean I can't
you,
have that influence.
Anyone that associates you, just a random stranger, with hip hop, chances are that's the first thing they think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, do you listen to Dr. Dre, Zero?
Yeah. No. I remember one time I was playing a show and they were trying to introduce us and they're like, "Oh, what's your influences?" And I was like, "Oh, my ancestors." And he's like, no. Like, I was like, well, that's what influences me. My ancestors, like I get in their frame of mind. I use their thought process to create this art. That's what my
They're like, no,
influence is.
Zero, you're hip hop influencers.
No, like, you know, like Dr. Dre, the RZA. I was like, oh man. I go, none of those guys. Those guys are like, just not. Because, you know, not because they're not good. By no means is that. But remember, I'm on a quest. I'm on an experience. I'm a spirit. I'm air, water, fire, earth. And I'm trying to figure my way into this universe, you know? So I'm not easily influenced. I'm not easily influenced to be taken this way and that way. But then maybe that's what makes my art different. You know, I'm not influenced. I'm trying to be like, in the way I see it, in the way it was taught to me by Don Miguel Ruiz through his books and through his lectures, is that I'm the dreamer, not the dream. I'm not the dream. I'm the dreamer. I'm dreaming this. I'm dreaming you, HK. I'm dreaming you, Armando. You were my fan at one point at 16 years old. Now we're here together. I'm dreaming this. That's how powerful the dream is. And it goes into scientific tools on how I'm doing this. I fast, I mineralize, I pray on certain times of the year. That means the wind of the universe I'm following because I'm recognizing these cardinal points. And I'm doing it every year of my life. And every year of my life, I get better and deeper and deeper and deeper. You want to know how they help you from the spirit world? Practice what they used to do. They'll spot you from the spirit world. And then the blessings come. We talked about this last time. We're all special. We all have the ability to do that. It's that we have to talk to us, right, Daniel? We were talking about this
Right.
earlier today. We have to talk about us. Who is us?
Right. Right.
When are we? I don't take it. I try never to take a day off to my disciplines. I try not to do that.
Right.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I try not. Every day of my life when I wake up and I see the sunrise and I see. Now, today I learned really quickly, just so that it relates to what it means to embrace all these things as being indigenous, right? Or using these principles and sciences and identity, right? First, get up before the sun rises and notice the color. Once you record the color through your eyes, it gets imprinted in your spirit. That means you're on time. Go outside at 12 noon and feel the heat of the sun. That's confirming that you're on time. Look at the sunset. Look at the color of the sunset and the sky. Let it record into your mind, confirming your day complete. These are practices. No one taught me that. I use Daniel's understanding. I use Masatzin understanding. But I don't just store it in my head. I try to practice it. And I'm not embarrassed that I don't get it right. And I ain't embarrassed if a maestro tells me you're doing it wrong. I don't care. You would have to do the things I do for me to care.
And Ruben, a lot of it comes with discipline, brother. I think it's.
Absolutely.
I would say. I know for me, man, I'm a teacher. You know, I was really blessed. I think of like some of the great students that I met. You know, just like you were talking about the kids, man. Oh man, the kids taught me so much. And I mean, I just remember, man, just always just trying to just let go of my ego and just help all the kids and me try to flex and not trying to be stern with them because man, they were teaching me. They were really showing me the way. But I was trying to, and I always tell them, the hardest rules are the ones that you break yourself. When you make a rule for yourself and you break that rule, it's hard on yourself. So it's like, and that's that discipline. And I know that people, but once you have discipline, I try to say this: when you have discipline, it's wild how lucky you become.
Look,
You know?
let me add to that. Discipline is an equation. Why? Because it has a result. If I have the discipline to do push-ups every day, I'm going to get a result from doing that discipline.
Can I just say something too about like going back to when you guys are talking about like making mistakes and all of these different things, like, one of the most important paradigm shifts in my brain that has helped me so much, and I believe is a recipe for successful people, whatever it is, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's music, whether it's culture and ceremony, whatever you're trying to achieve. um it's reframing the way that we look at mistakes and failures, right? Mistakes and failures and basically essentially fucking up is a prerequisite to success.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to do it. You have to make mistakes. You have to fail. You have to have the courage to fail. You have to have the courage to make mistakes. Like I train Muay Thai and boxing, I'm also a youth worker. I work with lots of youth. And I work with people like when we're hitting the pads, and it's like you're never going to learn how to throw a perfect punch or perfect roundhouse kick or perfect knee, elbow, whatever, if you don't fail 1,000 times first. Like that again, you can't skip that process. Like I don't think there's a saying that some of my Coast Salish relatives up here have taught me, some northern cousins, and it's not everyone's an elder. Some people are just old. Some people are just, right? Not everyone's an elder. Some people are just older, right? And the reason why I say that is because not everyone who holds ceremony or a place as a teacher is actually a good teacher or someone who should be having that role, right? But the reason why I bring that up is because my favorite ceremonial teachers and my favorite elders are the ones who talk about how fallible they are, how many mistakes they've made, and aren't trying to put themselves on a pedestal. In fact, when people try and put themselves on a pedestal, that's a huge red flag to me. But my greatest elders and teachers in ceremony, they're always so humble, and they're like, you know what? I'm just a pitiful man. I
Yeah.
make I might be 50, 60, 70, 80. I might be holding this Temescal, this lodge right now, but I'm still learning too. We're all still learning. We're all, and I think because sometimes we can live in this culture now where people are afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to fuck
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because we come from colonization, we fuck up even more now. We make even more mistakes because we're not raised with good teachings. A lot of us aren't raised with
Right.
culture. We're raised in communities full of gang violence and addiction and child abuse or foster care, street entrenchment, or so much familial broken homes and dysfunction. It's like, were we supposed to get these teachings from? So it's like,
I,
it's
I think
okay. It's
when it
okay to
comes,
make mistakes. It's
yeah,
okay
Yeah.
to fail. In fact, that is a part of becoming successful.
It's the
So
process.
you
The process.
just learn a lesson. If you learn a lesson, then it's just like, then those mistakes and failures are great teachers, right? Like, that's just the point that I want to make.
Right. No, it's a
yeah,
good experience. Is the toughest teacher.
Hmm.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, a lot of us suffer through a lot of things in our lives. They're not the best situations,
Hmm.
but our perspective is skewed. We need to come to a place where we're telling in the next 100 years that the life that's given to you, no matter how difficult it is a challenge for you. And how you navigate through those challenges will be the result. This is why the disciplines are so important.
Hmm.
It's not wishful thinking. It's not, I'll do it tomorrow. It's more like, how disciplined am I going to be towards myself? Because no one else is going to hold me more accountable than me.
Right. Right. That's
And I
true.
learned that lesson really hard in my life. I'm not going to
Experience
go
is
over
tough.
the specifics, but I know that I learned that lesson to try to seek external validation for things that no one should even care about. It's kind of the times when I started learning the Nemotemi and my son asked me to eat, and I was like, man, how dare you? In my head, I was like, how dare you ask me? And it was like, wait a minute, he didn't make that commitment, you did.
Mhm.
That's the beginning of me defeating myself.
Right.
That's the beginning. It's not making mistakes. It's you have to learn how to defeat yourself. What does that mean? That means I'm going to make the best decision because I know people around me, I'm a part of that community. So I have to be very, very, very wise about my decisions.
Right.
Using the discipline to contribute to a community. We need to create a community, and it doesn't mean that we all follow this doctrine and that we're tribes. We all have different. There's probably a tribe somewhere in Indiana that likes what I'm saying but hates that I smoke cannabis. Right? But this is my tribe. This is my tribe. This is who I am. People around me know that. I'm not trying to diss anybody by doing this. This is who I am.
Shout out to all the sober natives out
Absolutely.
there, man.
We
Like,
shout out to all the sober paths, whatever you decide to do, you are part of your tribe. Keep it in your tribe. And then how we relate within to tribal communication.
but don't sit there and judge,
Exactly. No judging, man. We don't have time to judge.
especially in the native community.
Yeah, we don't have time to judge each other, man. We're
That's the
already
thing that I learned in ceremony, right? Is that we can't judge each other, right? Because we're all just these tiny, like, what happened with me is, like, I started doing lots of shows and getting asked to do all these public speaking things, and I would be like in front of 500, 1,000 people telling them stuff about my life and how I healed, and my sobriety and all that stuff, and I get standing ovations, and my head and my ego was just exploding. And I'll never forget, I was at this conference once, and this guy came up to me afterwards when everybody had stopped, like, blowing up my ego. And he's like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. You're a really smart young man." He's like, "Just remember something." He's like, You're not the music. creator's the music. You're just the instrument. And I never ever forgot that, right? And it's just like having that humility to know like we can't judge each other because we're all just like these little tadpoles in this gigantic river of the universe and the earth and all these things and these powerful forces. So I think we can acknowledge our power and our strengths, but we also have to have an awareness of like none of us are really like we ain't shit, you know what I'm saying? And in the comparison of the whole universe, it's only in connection with everybody else that we are something, that we are supreme, because we are all supreme collectively. And I think that's an indigenous teaching, and it's a colonial egotistical type thinking. When I judge you, I separate myself from you. I'm saying we are not the same, we are different, we are not connected. And that's not the truth. We're all connected. And that's the difference between indigenous and non indigenous ways of thinking, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I love those humilities. And I know what you're saying about the discipline because I'm so undisciplined in so many ways, right?
We all
Like,
are. Though.
bro,
We all started there. We all
I'm a
started.
fat kid, man. I'm gordito, man. Like, I like to eat and all this stuff. And
It's not.
I was pulled to do a vision quest, which that was hard for me, man. I had to go
Mm,
4 days,
mm,
4 days, no food or water, like
mm,
on the land. I'm like, man, no chips or nothing,
mm.
right? Not even a couple crackers, not even a drink of water. But I did it, man, and
Good.
it was so
That's
beautiful. And
that's
I
probably why you have a
remember
strong spirit.
I remember when I broke my fast, the my friends who came were really beautiful, like this one uncle of the community, he's Anishinaabe, really beautiful uncle, but he came with his partner and they brought me just some berries and salmon and stuff. And I remember I was eating this one little berry and I ate it in like 4 bites, and it was the most succulent tasty thing. After 4 days, I'm like, you know, it's like that. What's that in that movie? Like the schnozberries taste like schnozberries. I was like, yo, this is the most beautiful thing I ever ate in my life. Like, wow. And it just gives you an appreciation, and it helped me um, learn that discipline. And like the same thing when I go train Muay Thai at my gym, DCS in Vancouver. Thursday is the cardio day, and cardio day is the hardest day. Like they push us till we puke. Like literally, like it is tough, man. It's like boot camp. And I remember for a long time I would go on every day, but I'd avoid the Thursdays. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, fuck, gonna make this gordito run, man. They're gonna do like 50 kicks each leg every 2 minutes, and I'm just dying, right? And but you know what I started to do? I started leaning into it. And I'm like, you know what? If I make it on any day of the week, it's gonna be the Thursday. Right? Because I knew I was undisciplined, I purposefully chose to go to the hardest day to learn to foster that discipline, right? Because I knew naturally I'm not. And I actually think that's why we have these ceremonies. Naturally, as humans, we are undisciplined. We are greedy, we're jealous, we're lustful. We're full of so many of these things, and these negative things, these temptations, this want to do, to take the easy route or
Just to
do
be
things we're not
lazy.
supposed to do. Exactly. And these ceremonies, a lot of them teach us, like they help humble us, they help teach us discipline, they help connect us to the spirit world. You know, like I think part of why our prayers are so powerful and fast, like what I've been taught, is because in a fast, especially long fast, you're actually starting to die. Like that's literally what it is. The every day you go without food or water, you're literally getting closer to death. So we are becoming closer to the spirit world.
Wow.
And I've also been taught that the ancestors see the sacrifice that we're making too, and they acknowledge that. And I can tell you, after I did my vision quest, I had the most magical fucking year of my life. Like, and I got some real crazy messages in that. So, you know, I definitely encourage like those are our teachings that we've known for thousands of years. And that's the beautiful thing. Y'all who are watching right now, you don't have to go on some crazy trip to figure this out or do this. Like you could just do it right now. You could do it tomorrow. You know what I mean? Wake up and fast for 4 days and just pray and stay off of your phone, or, you know, go out into the land and do, you know, do a spirit bath, go to the river and do a spirit. Like, there's so many things that's like, you know, people are looking for all these like quick fixes, and it's like, are the medicines are all around us. They're on the land, they're in with our ancestors, you know. So it's like, it's beautiful things we have access to, but we've just lost the knowledge and the awareness that it's there for us, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
But that real
Yeah,
awareness is under the surface, brother. Like you just scratch it, and it's like the sun hitting a seed. It just pops out. You know,
there is no
can't stop the
quick
sun.
fix pill. Zero.
No, not when you're dealing
These
with
super green pills.
not when
Well,
you're dealing with intergenerational trauma. I mean, this generational trauma is like it's not just your parents and your grandparents. It's like their parents and their parents'
right,
parents, and
right.
it's intergenerational trauma. That's
Mhm.
why when one focuses on himself and defeats himself, you're breaking the cycles of intergenerational trauma because it takes disciplines, it takes courage, and it takes about what you were talking about, the hummingbird. It takes your will.
Right.
It takes your will. When we give up, we're giving up on our own will. Think of a hummingbird in mid-flight, and then he goes, "Oh shit, I can't fly this fast." That's what it feels like when we give up. Our will is like that hummingbird. I've never seen that. I've never seen a hummingbird go, "Oh shit,
Nah.
my will, it's gone."
Mhm.
You know, our will is our hummingbird on the left. That's our heartbeat. When it stops, we're dead. You can't come back. That's why you use the force of that heartbeat to inflict your intention and will. Using the tools, calendar counts, and sacrifice in what I call self-imposed trauma. You see, when one gets molested, when one gets beat, it's a trauma. And we remember that trauma. But when you imposed self-inflicted trauma, that means you're challenging yourself. And other blood cells or elders that live inside of you get awoken. They start, and then now it's up to you, since they're awoken. Well, what are you going to feed these elders that live inside of your skin and your bloodstream? You eat the highest foods that our ancestors created. There were specific foods that you need to focus on. I won't go into detail today, but I just want to plant those seeds.
Well, I think his elderberry was a good seed that he had. You know, you tell the
Elderberry,
story about your
spirulina,
elderberry.
maca root, the list goes on and on. But you have use your own heart, use your own will to guide you. How do you think the hummingbird finds the flower? What, he just lazily looks for a billboard? No, he's relentless. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I found one. You know, he's relentless. His will is like unstoppable. That's what the hummingbird is. That's what we are collectively. We're a force that follows the trail of the butterflies, just like Daniel explained to us. We're a force that followed that hummingbird
Right, right.
all the way to the Valley of Mexico, following the Colorado River. We are the force that combined the wisdom of the Olmec all the way down to the Mexica. So it wouldn't be lost during the 500 years of darkness. Man, we're riding the wave. We have cosmovision. That's who we come from. Those are our grandfathers. They sit in the sky and they look down on us and they see, are we facing the challenges that we need to face? How are we overcoming them? They're put there for a reason, to make us stronger and make us one community again, so we can thrive together. And that's the way I feel when I go up there on April 12th, brother. I'm excited about that, and thank you for helping me bringing me up there and inviting me to come, and do the show.
Bro, all the serious shit aside, which is the serious shit is important, it's gonna be a fucking blast, bro.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun.
So much fun. I'm so excited to have you guys come up, and we have a dope little, Central South American Mexica community up here. And people, I mean, it's definitely not as strong and together as in like East LA or LA period. But yeah, we got some dope homies, and obviously just like the local natives,
Absolutely, everybody. We're all one family.
that's what I'm saying though. Like but there's those silos, right? Those just little islands of community, and that's what I want to help break down along with your guys' help. And so it's gonna be such a good time. I'm really, really excited about it. I'm just like I'm dropping announcements all week. I still have some really big announcements. Actually, maybe that's a good time to plug. Like, I don't know if one of the homies or somebody maybe like plug all of our IGs. Like you can follow me at HKEEZAY. That's at HKeeZay on Instagram, and I'm just be dropping the whole week all the announcements. And then for all the people who are following that are already following me, you can follow Zero at zero underscore Elvuh on IG, or follow LA Natives podcast on IG. And
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all want to plug your guys's socials and stuff too, but just follow us, man. We're all supporting each other, and we're dropping lots of announcements and cool things and knowledge that we're doing and exploring.
Right. Well, this show's gonna be April 12th
Hmm.
in Vancouver, right?
It's in Vancouver.
Vancouver, British Columbia. So I can't wait to go out there. I'm also playing another show this Saturday at Belvedere Park for a very cool clique called La Clica. They're like a bike club or a cycling club. I don't know what they call themselves, but they roll deep, bro. And I shout out to them for inviting me to play this show. And
That's them right there.
that's right.
That's
Shout out to
cool.
those brothers. They're dope, man. They're cool as fuck.
Nice gear.
Man, they roll deep too. And it's males and females, man. I'm honored that they even want to hear my music, and it's an honor to play for a warrior clan like this. They do it in their own way, and that's what I mean, that we all have tribes. We all belong to tribes. And then when you mess with one tribe, you mess with all the tribes.
Right.
They come from you from all different angles. That's what we need to create here on Turtle Island, and this is one of my tribes here.
Right.
I'm gonna go out there and communicate and share my wisdom and share my heart. I'm gonna share my hummingbird with them, because
Shout out to the homie Viva Mescal. He's gonna be
that's
performing.
right. Viva Mescal's gonna be there from ETR, East of the River. Those guys are really talented. I'm really honored to play with those type of dudes. Because we're all trying to rep East Los Angeles as best we can, and La Clica does a great job. They go through. They represent Boyle Heights.
So it's right here. There's the 323 annual ride out going down March 23rd, Belvedere Park, 12 p.m. meetup. The rolling by 3:30. Bring good vibes. EOTR, Zero Elvuh, Viva Mescal, a whole bunch of vendors. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pull up to this.
It's
for sure.
Belvedere Park, bro. Like you don't know
Yeah, it
that.
looks
Like
sick.
Belvedere Park is where I used to
fall
play
back.
Little League baseball.
Looks fire.
Like it's my hometown, dude. It would be so cool to play that show there. Shout out to La Clica once again, man. Keep it up. Be safe. Everybody, work together as one unit like you always do. I always see you guys out in the street, representing Los Angeles, representing Boyle Heights, and I can't wait to do the show on Saturday. So it'll be this Saturday, March 23rd Is it 23rd, Armando? Yeah.
Yes.
March 23rd. I'm gonna be at the park at 1:30. So if you want to, chat, say hi, take a photo, whatever, we're gonna be there representing LA.
This Saturday.
This Saturday.
Yep.
East Los Angeles, Belvedere Park. We're gonna represent our community, which is LA natives. We're gonna represent our heart, which is the message of our ancestors, putting it all together. And then in a few weeks, we'll be up in Canada with HK and his family
Yeah,
up
cool.
there.
Let's do it.
Absolutely, my brother. Well, thank you for being
Hey.
on, bro. I
Yeah,
appreciate you, man, and we'll see you soon, okay?
for sure. Are we gonna end it here?
Yeah, yeah. Well, me and
Right
Daniel are gonna
before-
go over the last points, and then but go ahead and say some last words if you like.
Yeah, I just want to say, Patty Yush, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for all the love and for putting me on the podcast. And I'm super stoked to continue building with y'all, whether it's up here, whether it's in LA, whether we all go to the motherlands together one day. Like, I'd love to see all of that happen. And like I said, it's not a coincidence. We're all connecting together, and I really appreciate the knowledge you guys shared. I learned a lot from you and everyone listening, man. Like, thank you so much. Like, again, I go by HK Higher Knowledge. You can find me HKEEZAYHKZ on IG. All my stuff is on Spotify. HK space Higher space Knowledge. A bunch of albums and music, bunch of music videos and stuff. Can I leave y'all with a couple bars?
Yeah, go
Yes.
for it.
All right, I'm gonna spit this and then boom, finito. It goes something like this. They say I'm Spanish. I say I'm damaged. My roots have vanished, just like Atlantis, just like my aunts did. Don't know where my land is. Maybe that's why they say I'm outlandish. My only ties to Spain is the pain inside of its name, inside of my veins. Jaguars they are trying to tame. Economics and profits that all supply but a cane. A land split by invisible lines that were placed. Islands remain in as spirits which coincide with the space. Our lives displaced, fed the lies and the hate. The aura of diaspora that I'm trying to break. See the brushing with northern cousins that remind me to make journeys to homelands where my sacred fire is placed, forging fire to face what colonizers have made. Indigenous and an immigrant, who am I in this place? Am I in this place? I said, am I in this place? Identities of Incas, Aztecs, and Mayas a race. It's time for different tribes to relate, unite for the strength, reclamation of severed nations these rhymes can create.
You know, bars.
Fire, brother.
Bars.
Bars, exactly.
Awesome.
Patty Youth Brothers, thank you so much for having me. I'll leave y'all with that. Respect. See
All
y'all.
right, my brother.
That was good.
Yo,
Like that.
that's higher knowledge right there.
Cool dude. Cool
Got
dude.
some good energy.
Right.
HK for the youth. We love that. That's one aspect that I really loved about that brother is he talked a lot about the youth, and it's true. Right now, the youth is being targeted, the youth is being attacked, and it's very important that we continue to address the youth and continue to provide information for the youth, because it's hard to be lost as an adult and as a young person, but for the kids, I see so much youth confused and lost, and I think it's beautiful that we have MCs and people like HK that are out there doing things for the youth and not just, for oneself and for one's own merit and gain. So, beautiful message. Really, really love
He's cool,
HK's
dude.
presence. Cool dude.
Cool dude, man. Like, he put in a lot of work to put that, show together and, getting us out there. And, like I said, we'll always be representing Los Angeles. We'll always be representing Las Taslan while we're up there and making new relationships with individuals.
Man,
Further north.
Zero, the chat has been lit. It's been an honor. A lot of people are paying attention. A lot of people know about higher knowledge now. People are going to be, watching this on the replays. It's such
Then
a
we're going to put it
dope-
back on Spotify, right?
Yep,
That's the
yep.
plan.
I'm actually this week going to be uploading all the episodes back on Spotify for anyone that's like in the gym or, doing their meditation or.
Yeah, but
know,
that guy's on fire, man. He's just making shit happen. Like, you gotta just support that. And the thing is, he's getting zero to Canada. Like, man, just
Yeah.
If you're going into the sweat lodge, man, just that's just we're on a podcast.
Yep. Well, I mean,
Spotify. But of course, YouTube, we need subscribers. If you guys liked what you heard, just make sure you guys subscribe.
It's important that we get to 1,300 subscribers in the next, however fast we can do it. It's important, you know. And then remember, we're independent. So when you go to Bandcamp and you download the single or buy the album, I mean, don't think of it as something that's like antiquated, you know, technology. I mean, think of it as supporting a show that you believe in, the message. That's what we want, you know, and we want to create, you know, quality garments. We're already, you know, working with Daniel to get these new designs out. And then once we get them out, you know, we're expecting your support so that we can, you know, continue to build on this program, get better equipment, be able to go to different towns and do the show there. That's the plan, you know, like if we had budget to take everybody from LA Natives to the show here, we would be doing that.
And
You
that's
know,
the thing too. If people find the podcast helpful, you know, maybe suggest to somebody and say, you know,
Yeah.
you should try to check out some of the podcasts because you know we've had some good feedback, and I think it's just man, sometimes it's you know what's out there on all the platforms. You know, someone like you said, it's kind of causing kind of a little bit of fear, a little bit of anger, and I think we're not there. You know, we're moving on to the next idea for our people, man, and it just looks like we just, you know, if you're interested and if anybody you know would be interested in this, just let them know. You know.
Yeah, let them know about this podcast, share it, get a clip, post it on your Instagram, post it on your TikTok. If you believed in something that we said, that it resonated with your spirit. I mean, that's all we're doing is sharing what we've experienced ourselves. You know, that's all it is. It's just an experience that we had and using these ceremonies, using these principles, using these techniques, whatever you want to call them, you know.
Somebody wants to see me spit
You
bars.
got
Hey,
some,
man.
I was about to say, you got some bars for the chat, Daniel?
That's funny. Well, I kind of like the way everybody likes me right now, so maybe you're gonna give me some time, you know. But hey, man,
Is Daniel?
I'm not against it. You know, I just, you know,
Daniel got bars, man.
I'm in a room of MCs, you know. But the thing is that it's just nice to be part of just the platform, and hip hop really represents everything that's just that the media doesn't play. You know, if the mainstream isn't about it, it's hip hop. You know,
Yeah. But in Canada, Drake's not it.
No.
That's funny. Well, they still think he got shot, right? Didn't he get shot in that show?
Oh wow, I don't know.
Was he in a show? Yeah, I don't know. I just
You listen to
whatever.
Drake's guy?
I do. I do
Oh, you
listen
do?
to Drake.
I think he's absolutely trash, bro. And that's just coming from a real hip hop head, bro. Like, but you know,
There's a
he is consistent,
No,
right?
bro,
like
but
you
there's
can't really avoid that, right, Sky? Like
Look,
he just
the
he
hardest
just
thing for
keeps-
an artist to do. The hardest thing for an artist to do is to put a budget together to put out a record. When you have unlimited budget, unlimited everything, like it's like almost starts to become redundant, you know. And unless you focus on something, some sort of a message, unless his messages are subliminal, you know, and he works really hard to push out subliminal messages, which is probably what's happening. You know, it's the road of an artist is to influence. Look at what he influences, and you'll see what his message is. Right? If his message is about enlightenment, you know, challenging yourself, coming closer to the cosmovision or the concepts of the cosmovision, well, then that's what he does. But if he's talking about sex and drugs and sleeping with your best friend's girlfriend,
And for
come
me,
on, bro.
Canadian hip hop right now is Jesus, Dakota Bear, now
Yup.
Higher Knowledge, Snotty Nose Res Kids. Like he's in that category now.
Yeah, that's a good group.
Oh,
of
those guys
MCs.
are doing their thing, you know, up there. Snotty Nose and you know,
Yo, I was just
That's
watching.
it.
You know, I was just watching a show recently with Nora on Netflix, and there it is. They're playing Snotty Nose Res Kids like on a soundtrack.
no way.
Pretty dope. Like
Good
they're
shit.
really getting out there.
Yeah.
I guess for
Shout
me,
out to
I'm
that
just,
Snotty Nose.
I love music. So, yeah, I mean, I don't get too deep into it like that. I think the music industry is full of subliminal messages, and it's kind of hard to like pinpoint one artist and be like, oh, well, they're pushing this agenda. There's a lot of our favorite artists, and if you're talking about mainstream music, it's kind of clouded in that way. But you know, if I'm all about music. I've loved music since I was younger, and like music is a big part of who I am. So it's like it's tough to be like, oh, I'm gonna boycott this artist and this artist when it's just like it's so clouded. But I think it's important to recognize what we're listening to and the message. You know, you don't want to just openly listen to an artist and not know what they're saying and support that artist.
Well,
So,
one thinks that they're not being affected. Oh, I just like the beat. I mean, come on, dude. That's not. I mean, look what happened
I
to
just
me.
like the beat.
Look
A
what
lot
happened
of
to
those
me.
guys, huh?
I used to just like the beat of reggae, and then I smoke weed every day. Like, come on,
Hey,
dude.
wait, but
It
music is
influences you, bro. It
medicine, though, man.
influences you.
Music is
There's no way
medicine.
music does not
You know,
influence you.
it does.
it's your medicine. Music can be, it heals you when you need. Sometimes it's that voice that just helps you guide through times of and happiness too. Music is such a beautiful.
But
It's
but
not.
when it comes to hip hop, Zero, Dr. Dre is obviously a big name.
Yeah.
Am I right, Sky? Like
Yeah.
he's the one that found Eminem, 50 Cent.
Right.
But no one's gonna tell me Eminem is the best rapper alive. I'm not doing that,
Absolutely
Zero.
not.
There's
Not
so
doing that.
not just because he's white or something like that. I'm just saying like it's not happening for me.
Hey, but last night I saw them with Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent and and Dr.
Yeah,
Dre.
it's like
It was an
the
interesting
who's
interview.
who. Zero. It's Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem, and 50 Cent. They're all just like hanging out. Like that's the definition of commercial mainstream hip hop.
Right.
And that's not true influence, right, Zero? If it's shoved down your fucking throat like that, dude,
Excuse me.
like 2Mix is real influence.
Right. Oh man.
Dude, I went
Zero, El Fu is real influence.
I went to a 2Mix show earlier this week, and I met a really cool person too from New Mexico. And shout out to her name's skipping my brain, but seeing 2Mix perform live in the state that he's in, still performing these lyrics that just don't match up with what's out right now. His concepts of things and how he made Los Angeles is cool, but he makes it cooler,
Yeah.
with his influence, with his ways of describing it. I like to think that that's what I do with the version of life that our ancestors had.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do with my poetry, is like I try to bring you back to that time, because that time has never gone away.
That's a true heart on Hollywood Boulevard right there. It's not some damn plaque on the floor
Right?
Yeah.
just so you could fit in with the elites. Right?
Nah, well, who wants to go fit in with them? They stole everything from us and then say, "Oh, now we know it." So
Yeah. Right.
it's like, but none of them have discipline. None of them see the point of waking up in the morning and seeing the high noon sun and seeing the sunset. It's like, those sound like very simple things, but when you do them consistently, and then you add the nemotemi, and then you add the fasting, and then you add the superfoods, and you add all these things, now you're starting to build up your whole entire person. Now you have discipline. Now you have will. What are you going to do? How are you going to contribute? I know what I'm doing. I'm going to Canada. I'm spreading the message. I wake up every day and I open up the store in East LA. I put together a formula that I'm introducing to my community so that it could heal itself. These are not impossible tasks. I know everyone can meditate on their own and say, you know what? I'm going to focus in on this, and I'm going to contribute this to my community. There's no more time. There's no such thing as being lazy. You're not mineralized, or you are. You have the energy or you don't. There's no gray area. There's no it's because. No, it's not because. Just do it consistently and fix yourself. You have the will. You have the power. The hummingbird to the left, right, Daniel?
Right. Well, I think too, Ruben, you got to find your passions. You know what I mean? And look for your passions. Find what makes you, what motivates you. Some people like I trip out like my dad. I feel good. I see him. I know he's doing better. When I can't find him, I look outside and he's sitting in the sun.
Nice.
And I think, okay, this guy's doing all right. Because it's just, I think he's got to be on the right mindset. And it's just very, But again, to the Ruben, I think in this beautiful experience of life, we just, once we begin to resonate from our heart and begin to value our intention, because I think, I've seen it with you. You've made your boys a good intention, and the results been amazing. You know what I mean? And I think in terms of people that we love and that we want to see them become, greater, if there's a way to put that, but it's like your son or your cousin or somebody that you care about, and it's just nurturing that energy. And then it's interesting how when you nurture that energy, you find you're nurturing yourself.
Right. Yeah, because it's an extension of you. They get to live on a little past you. You know.
Well,
And
it's kind of too like we're nurturing our inner child, and
Yes.
you talk a lot about your father, and I live with my grandmother.
Okay,
My,
good. That's good.
my
That's
grandmother, she's just been diagnosed with dementia, and so
okay.
like gradually I'm seeing her sort of become like a child again, right? Forget things, and like she needs assistance with going to the restroom and
It's a
all these
humbling.
different things. Exactly. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
very humbling.
for me, it's like it's watching somebody get old who was strong become like a child again. And in a sense, I thought about it like, well, we all get old, right? We all become sort of
Hopefully,
like children, as hopefully, right?
hopefully, brother. I mean, but you're right though. It's the idea that we're going to get to that point.
Hmm. But I think too, a lot about what we talked about on the show about humbling oneself. It's kind of like becoming a child again, right? The dropping the ego, the getting rid of all this. Who am I, right? It's like
Right.
kids, they don't have that. And you talked about when you were a teacher working with kids, how you saw a shift in yourself through these kids, and
Right.
I
Right.
experienced the same thing coaching, high school kids with basketball. So it's like it just tells me like there's something there with these practices and this discipline, and it's kind of like becoming that little kid again in a sense.
Right.
And a lot that goes a long way. And I think it if we become like children again, naturally we find who we are, and it just makes everything so much more easier. I feel
Well, I
like.
think we're always childlike in our inner self. We'll always be that inquisitive. I don't know. I myself, I mean, I dug working with young people and the kids. It's just like, it's kind of like, I don't know if I can explain. It's like when you take somebody somewhere and they experience something for the first time and you get to experience it with them. It's kind of like I don't know. It's a cool feeling. I imagine like if you have kids, I don't have kids, but like Ruben, I'm sure many times your kids, you experience something with them and it's just like, wow, it's life. You can't even put it. But I
Yeah.
think also too, Sky, did you live with your grandmother? That's a
Yeah.
very good experience, man. A lot of people don't live with that generations of, who came before you.
Yeah, I think also too when we talked about on the show about we were talking about the aspect of how we just take, and I think it starts a lot in the household too. In
Right.
this American society, we're so used to once I turn 18, I'm gonna leave the house and
Right.
I'm gonna do for me. But if we don't choose to leave the house, and if we stay in the house and we learn how to take care of our parents and we learn how to take care of our grandparents, we gain something from that, and that's something that I'm trying to learn now. How not to be as selfish and how to be more selfless, right? How to give back to our grandparents, how to give back to our mothers, because as I get
Very
older,
good.
I see my parents and my grandparents get older, and it's a hard thing to see, but it's like who if not me, who's gonna take care of them? So it's that process of like learning how to be more selfless and not be as selfish as a young person, because it's so easy, at least for myself, it's easy to just get caught up in this like I have these things that I want to do, I want to do this, but it's a big aspect, our parents.
Well, and truth be told, Sky, man, if you at your age, if you'd have told me at this age I'd be taking care of my dad, I'd be like, man, you're tripping. I ain't never talking. I can't stand that guy. But it's just like that's where I was, because my dad he was just a beast. And my mother was the world, and it's just, I never understood how they got together, but eventually, I don't know, we just got through it, and I realized that my dad wasn't so bad, and I started to realize that I started to come back all the cool things that he did. I was like, oh man, he wasn't such a beast. And so, but it just but I swear I did not know him. But so I know for me, it trips me out how I found myself in a way that now it's important to me. It's like, dude, you talk about discipline, man. I feel like a nerd. I get up in the morning and I make a tea for my dad. I cut the fruit for the dog. And I have this routine, and I think to myself, what the hell am I doing? And I don't even make it for myself. And so, but I think I don't know why. I take pride in it. And I see my dad, and it's like, I get along better with him now than I've in my whole life. And I just think, man, I'm glad I have this with him, but I just think, man, how, I don't know what happened to me. I don't know how I transitioned, but I'm not really regretting it, but I'm glad that you are at a good place now, and it's just for me. I don't know where it happened, but I'm glad I found my heart, and I decided that, I'd rather resonate love, than anything, because I don't live in the past anymore.
Yes. Well, you never had to find it. That your heart was always there. You just kind of had to uncover it.
Well, right. I think I had to heal it, man, because I think my heart was
Mm.
broken a lot, and I think that people don't understand that. That like, man, to have your heart broken is the greatest pain, man. People don't get that, and it's like, but we have hearts. That's why we understand it. If you don't have a heart, you couldn't relate. You couldn't relate, and that's okay. I'll let you not relate. I'd rather have pain and know what it feels like to feel love.
Yo, Ellie Nina's podcast. Shout out to Malalani Superfoods, 4528 Whittier Boulevard.
Yeah.
That's where it all goes down.
It all goes down for every first Sunday, plant-based Aslan, Tuesdays, dance at practice.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. That's where all the noise is coming from on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Again, 4528 Whittier Boulevard, Los Angeles. Stop by, get a drink, get a sandwich.
Absolutely.
Zero, any last words?
Yeah. It was a cool show. I'm glad I'm able to go out to Canada in April sometime. And well, actually, I'll be there April 12th. It won't be a long trip. It will only be a few days. But we're starting our movement now. The spring's here. And I can almost feel the intentions coming to reality, because we have to really be disciplined about these dreams, and that remember that our life isn't permanent, and all we got to do is just contribute all of our will to our intention. And usually our intention is tied to our community or our family. And you will have your time, Sky. Don't sacrifice things that are natural in your life. Let things naturally go to where they need to go. Anyone who is of older age, whether they're in a sick mind or whether they're in a good mind, they know it's their time. That's why our relationship with one another, our relationship with the earth, but most importantly, our relationship with ourselves. What kind of a relationship do you have with yourself? Because if you have a good relationship, then death is not an issue. You have a bad relationship with yourself, you're going to fear death.
You're right.
Have a good relationship with yourself.
That's a great point, because we fear death because we fear the unknown. And that's because we don't know who we are. But once we know who we are, there's
How
no
about
need
not
to
trying
fear
to
death.
find out, though? How about don't even find out who you are? Just live. Experience, because it's not going to do anybody any good. You're going to say it's one thing, and then someone 100 years from now is going to say it's another thing, and it's not. There's no point to it. Just live. Live in a good way. Live in a good way. That's it.
Hey, how about this, Ruben? You guys, death was not even a concept in our people's world.
Absolutely.
Like I can't even. You talk about death, and our people didn't like. Huh? What's that? Because there was no concept that you die and it's the end. That was
Right.
never a part of our world.
Yeah.
It was just a transition.
So,
And so
yeah,
that you die and it's over. That's a pilgrim concept. So
yeah.
we
So
can't do what we didn't believe in.
exactly. And remember, we're just a tiny grain of sand on a very humongous beach. Don't put ourselves with the pressure of finding out all these things that like who we are. It sounds silly, but who we are is what we practice, how we treat people, what we bring to the community. People don't know me because they know me because of what I've done. Things that are tangible, like he does plant-based Aslan the first end of the month. He works at Malinali Superfoods. He sells mineral food smoothies to the community and vegan food. What I've done, that's the intention. That's the life. That's who you are. We have to be very confident. We got to go back to plant medicines. If our mind isn't fixed, if my mind isn't right, Mother Earth has a plan for it. And if it doesn't have a plant that'll take it away and cure it, at least it'll ease whatever pain or transition you to where you need to go. We can't, again, taking back to that story real quickly, and then we'll end it. I asked the person, I was like, so why do you get scared if you're in a claustrophobic space? So, well, I can't escape and this and that. And I was like, well, what are you trying to escape? I go, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. What are you trying? You can't escape that. You have to accept it. It's easier said than done, and don't think that I'm not going to be afraid of it when it comes to me. But at one point, I'm going to understand that I'm just an experience. I'm a divine experience, a very focused experience, a very disciplined experience. Because the stars were laid out for me to do that. I think I chose to come. Share my heart. Everybody chose to come. That's how we become a cluster of stars. We're all just shining our light. And we got to continue to do that day in, day out, sunrise, sundown. We'll see you next week. Tlazocamatli, Umeteo, Tonantzin.